Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Codger's Garage. And today, we are diving in here with this I'm going to say early 1970s Wizard garden rototiller. You can see there, Wizard, power reverse, 5 horsepower. Around the front here. There's the motor. All labels and things have gone off it, but there it is. She's an old school fossil. And we're gonna see, this is my grandfather's, and we're gonna see if we can get a good start right up, but it might not. So we're gonna see. And I want to use this as kind of a video, give you guys an idea on some things you can do if something's been sitting, and some simple things you go through, before you do the initial startup. Let me get the camera set up here. We're under my little tarp shed here, under the rain, out from under the rain, I should say, because it is raining pretty steady out there right now. So, yes indeed, the first thing I want to do here is I'm going to go ahead and take this filter off and have a look at it. Hopefully this goes well. Hopefully this starts right out. We'll see. That out. That filter is pretty nasty, pretty old. It's disintegrating when I touch it from the bottom. You guys can see that. I'm pushing on it here, and the filter is literally, look at that. It's literally, if you can see that, it's literally crumbling. That's not just oil film, that's literally crumbling. So, look, that's the filter. Look at that. So this guy definitely needs a filter, first and foremost. That is, yeah, look at that. It's got chunks taken right out of it. She's pretty beat up. I don't know if it'll start with the filter like this or not, and I definitely don't want to haul particles down into that carburetor with the filter the way it is. So maybe we'll try to start it, make sure it'll run, and then order a filter for it. Never run it without a filter, but I think we can at least start it, make sure it's going to start up. If we see it starts, we'll get a filter ordered for it. I'm going to go ahead and thread this bolt back into place there. Yeah, that's real old filter. She's seen better days. Now we're going to check, I want to check, make sure we have spark before we go too far here. Guys in a little bit more. I don't know much about rototillers, so this should be interesting. Swivel over a little bit, bitty. So there's our spark plug. Get ourselves a socket. Size. Looks like. Size again. Yeah, 3/4. Yeah, 3/4, just like a chainsaw. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can get that plug out of there. It's a real old spark plug too. Hard telling if it's any good or not. Lots and lots and lots and lots of oil buildup there. I don't know if I can get the camera to focus on that. Look at that. Lots of oily carbon there. She definitely burned some oil, there's no doubt about that. I want to go ahead and pull this engine over a couple times here. I don't even know if there's any oil in it. While we've got the plug out, let's just see. Just turn that over a couple times. Just get things kind of loosened up a little bit. Make sure we've got some oil in it too here in a second. Let me see if we've got any fire. That I want to crimp that end of that. Another thing to watch for, guys, is this is loose. If your wire's loose on your plug, you know, and you get a lot of wiggle like that, that can create a lot of inconsistent fire, make you a lot of problems. So a quick, simple fix for that: just get yourself some needle nose pliers or a Leatherman, and just give that a little crimp. Not too much of a crimp. I went a little too far on that one. Take it back just a bit. Just a bit more. A little bit more. Crimped her too far. There we go. That's a good connection right there. See, we don't have any real, a little bit of wiggle, but it's got to wiggle a little bit, but make sure it ain't sloppy loose. It is awful rusty. If I had some sandpaper, I'd clean that up a little bit. It'll have to work. So maybe if you don't get any spark, you could clean that up a little bit, clean that in there a little bit. We'll see for starts what we've got right now. Before we worry about any of that, I can always do that later. I just want to see. It's going to be hard to get that at an angle I can even see what it's doing. Okay. Let's see what we got here. We got, is that loose? Yes it is. She came loose. Starter cup came loose. I am not seeing any spark right there. First off, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna bolt this cover down. I gotta get you guys right out of frame as usual. I'm gonna bolt this cover down. As you can see, we got a lot of slop there. This bolt over here on the side I want to tighten up. Hopefully I don't need an extension because I didn't think to bring one out. It's always something. It's kind of what I figured. This is sat. Oh, geez. I'm thinking it must have sat probably at least 8 years, I'm thinking, without being run. Somewhere in that area. It's the last time I remember him running it, so she could be a pain. No doubt about that. We do have a spare motor for it, if this one just doesn't go, which obviously it can be fixed, but we'll see, you know, what happens with it. As of right now, it's not looking very promising, without at least some work to it. Yeah, I'm going to have to get in there with maybe even 1/4 inch, but I don't have any 1/4 inch extensions. Can't even get on that to turn it. Maybe I turn it a little bit. This seems to be a little bit tighter. Help on that or not? No. Okay, we're not going to worry about that right now, maybe. It does need to be fixed, but I don't have the tools I need out here unless I can get maybe a shallow socket in there, wedged in there somehow. Let's see about that. What's that? Does that fit it? It's too big. Who's ever run into something that took an 11mm? It's pretty random. Usually it's a 10 or, you know, a 13 or something. I don't think I've ever used an 11mm socket ever. There we go. That just barely fit in there. She's tight, boy. Alright, should pull over. Oh yeah, that pulls over smooth now. Okay. So what I want to do now, bump you guys back a little bit out of the way. Zoom in on that plug there. Trying to get that plug pointed up. We're going to check it again. It could be just the plug, if we're lucky. I definitely have no spark whatsoever. So, yeah, this is interesting. So I guess what I'm going to do, first things first, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take this fine file on this Leatherman. I'm going to clean up that plug a little bit right there. Try to get some of that oil off it. I may even have a plug that will work. I'm sure I do. Somewhere. I don't want to put a lot of money into this old tiller if I don't have to. I'm sure we can find something we can get by with. There is tons and tons and tons of oily carbon buildup here on this plug. She could just be really, really dirty. We know that plug wire is pretty rusty, and anything like that can create a lot of issues with spark. I probably, if it comes to that, I probably even have a condenser for this, I would imagine. If it, we'll see, I don't know. I'm not even really sure what this is for an engine on it, because all the stickers are gone. So clean that up a little bit. Get in there with something. Clean the actual tip up. Let me see if I can grab some stuff, guys. I'll be right back. Just hang tight, and I will return. Okay, guys. Don't pay any attention to my dog. She just screams to scream. Okay. Did a couple things. First of all, I want to just grab another plug. I don't know if any of these have fire. These are some older plugs I had kicking around. Just see if maybe it's just the plug or if it's the whole ignition system. I don't see anything on that one. Let's try one of these. It could just be dirty. I mean, obviously it is rusty. That could be our problem. Or it could be our plug. Yeah, I'm not seeing any fire on those. So I'm thinking it's probably either dirty or there's a bigger issue at hand. So, let's see, I got a piece of sandpaper here. I'm going to try to get in there, get away from that plug hole so that we don't get that in there in our cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and try to scratch that up a bit. Just got a piece of sandpaper here rolled up. And try to file that up a little bit, get some shiny metal there. There is times when I've seen stuff to be just rusty, you know, and that rust create enough of an issue. Flies are pretty thick out here too. Enough of an issue that you can't get your fire. So I want to see that nice and clean. That is cleaning that up pretty good. Do the end of our plug too. We don't know if our plug's any good. I should put it in something I know has fire. I've got a couple mowers over there. I could do that. Double check that plug. That would tell me right off quick too. Or give me some sort of an idea anyway. If the plug isn't any good, then we know that's at least one of our problems, right? That is cleaner. Let's see what we got there. Let me clean this plug up a little bit. The end of it. I'm just going to take this sandpaper here and just polish that up a little bit on the end. And then put it in one of my mowers over there and see what we've got. If we get any fire or not. These videos are always so long. I hope they help you though, guys. I hope they give you some sort of a, if nothing else, inspiration that you can tackle these projects. Even if you don't always get them first try. Alright, clean that up a little bit. Got us some cleaner surface there for contact. Set my piece of sandpaper down there. I'm going to go over here and see if I can get this to make a little fire. That'll tell us a lot. I'm assuming it's not the plug, but just in case it might be, I'm going to give it a check. Patridge drumming side. Alright, that's that right there. Maybe a spark plug tester, but I never think to use it because I never had one for so so long, and now I got one, can't remember, I gotta... It's not looking like it's sparking. You just double check that though on this other mower. Make sure that mower hasn't lost spark. Because I really can't imagine it being the plug. It could be. I've seen it before, but it's not as likely. But I also don't know how old this plug is either. She's a tight fit, boy. Can't see, that's the problem. Cannot see. Aside from a chainsaw, there ain't much else I can try it on. These push mowers the way they are, I can't see, I can't watch the plug and crank at the same time. But I'm assuming that it is not this plug because these didn't do anything for me either. Let me just clean up that contact in the middle though. Right in there. Clean right in between those. Just make sure that it's not just dirty. There it is. See how I've got that in there, in between there, that sandpaper folded over. A little bit of friction. Just gonna clean that. Big old chunks of carbon are coming right off there. That is good. She's dirty. Okay. Oh, she's dirty down there too. The plug is so oily. I don't think I've ever seen a plug that oily. This is an old engine. She is tired. But alright, that's cleaned up quite a bit. Let's see what we got there. Set that there, get that contacted. That's all painted though. I don't know. Usually plugs aren't too picky. Usually they're either gonna fire or they ain't. The Rewind could use a little WD-40. There's quite a delay there. I don't see any fire whatsoever. Nothing. So here's what I want to say. I am going to test this plug in something, like probably a chainsaw. Something I know has fire and something that's small enough that I can really see the plug while I'm cranking. These push mowers aren't the answer for that. I'm going to do that and see what happens there. Let me see, maybe this other engine I have, the spare engine, has fire. I don't know if it does or doesn't, but if I put this on and it sparks, I'm out nothing, right? So let's just see for giggles what we might have here. That's not a definite answer, obviously. if for some reason it happens to spark, it's a 3-second check. We'll know. Yeah, she's. I don't think she's gonna spark. There, a little better. Yeah, that doesn't. Either the plug's bad or that motor don't have spark either. I don't know which. We're going to go ahead. I'm just going to thread this back in for now. We're going to assume that this engine does not have spark and that it is the ignition system. Because I have tried, as you guys know, several different plugs in there. Nothing seems to be lighting. Let me pull one more plug out. One more thing. Something I know for definite has fire. Just one more time. Just to, I really want to confirm this before I dig any further. Of course, that's a bigger plug too. It's 13/16. Kidding. That engine don't have spark anymore either. The old Craftsman. The one that I told you guys I was going to scrap. That motor's all worn out anyway. I'm going to scrap that, but I just want the base off it. But I think the plug is good in it because I just bought a new plug for it not too long ago. Let's just check this, see what it does. Yeah, I still don't see any fire there whatsoever. So I'm assuming that is a dead duck. Sorry about all the barking, guys. The neighbors just drove through. Snoopy don't like it. One more plug. I know this one does because I started this year. I just really can't believe that. Yep, no sir. Okay. So we know we got an ignition problem in there. We're 100% sure. And we're going to have to tear into it. Find out what the deal is. And bring her back to life. So that is a little bit of a rundown, guys, on what you do when you've got an engine that's been sitting. You're not sure where to go. Start with taking that plug out, checking, grounding that plug out on something with the, obviously with your ignition wire on there. Crank that engine over, whether it be pull start or with the key, depending on what you've got, a ride mower or what it is. Make sure you've got fire. If you don't have fire, make sure it's not the plug. You know, try other plugs in there. You can even get a new plug if you want to. Try that in there. You know, there's 100 different ways you can test it. Or any plug that you have laying around, just stick it on there and ground it out like you would and crank the engine, see if you got fire. If it's not that plug, you know that it's something with your ignition, whether it's your coil, which isn't very common, does happen. Usually it's your condenser, in my experience, or your points are dirty, or not gapped right, or something. On this, unless the points just ungapped themselves for unknown reasons, I'm pretty sure the points were set right. if I know my grandfather. So I'm pretty sure it's probably the condenser is pooched. So we'll see. I'm not going to crack this open right now in this video because it's going to be too long of a video. So we're going to just keep talking about what we would do here a little bit, and then I'm going to close this video, and we'll do another one where we tear into the ignition system and solve that problem, and any other problems we find, because we could find more. The carburetor might be plugged, or you just don't know. So you check you have fire, okay, or it was just your plug or whatever, or if it was not your plug and it was your ignition system, I'll show you how to do that in another video. But say you've got all your fire. Next step, make sure there's no old gas in here. If there is, dump it out. Put your new gas in, check your oil levels, make sure everything's okay with that, and then crank that engine over, see if it'll start. See if it doesn't start, check that, take that plug out, check, make sure that plug is not, you know, see if that plug is damp. If the plug is damp, or you can smell gas or something, you know, you're probably getting gas. Or the plug could be too wet, you might have flooded it, you know, just, you can judge that a lot. Make sure that plug isn't too oily either. In a case like this, it's probably going to be, because this is an old engine and I think it leaks pretty bad. But anyways, you know, check, make sure that plug is getting gas to it. If that cylinder's completely dry after you've been cranking on this thing like nuts, you probably know you're not getting any gas. So then you know it's your carburetor, right? You get in your carburetor, you clean your carburetor, make sure there's no gunk in there. If it's tunable carburetor, make sure your mixture screws and everything are set factory, and take it from there. That's really all there is to it. Obviously make sure your air filter is not obstructed. If you start this up and it's surging, there could be several different reasons for that. I had a ride mower once that surged all the time that I got, and you had to run it with choke, and that's a dead giveaway. If you have to run an engine with choke, 9 times out of 10 your air filter is plugged. So remember that too. If you've got an engine that if you shut the choke off it stalls, your air filter is probably plugged. So check that out, or replace that. You know, whatever. Some of them you can just blow them out with the air compressor. You know, do something about it. Try to get that air filter cleared up. If it's surging, it could be that your carburetor is getting gas to the plug, but it's partially plugged off somewhere in the carburetor. Take that apart, make sure all your jets and everything are clear. And that's really all there is to it, unless you have obvious issues. You know, if you're lacking compression, you might have a ring or a piston or something that's bad. You know, there's different things. But as far as your general checks and general maintenance on an engine that you know is in good shape, you know, it's been sitting, it might have some little issues, but it's in good shape. It's a solid engine, you know the piston and everything's probably good. Then those are the things that you would check right off out of the gate, and then take it from there. And obviously there's a lot of other issues you could run into, but those are your simple few first things that you can check out on that engine to make sure that you're going to be in good running order. So that is it for now. We're going to come back after this and get have a look at that ignition system. I don't know if it'll be today. It might be later today. I come back live with that video. I don't know. Depends on how the day goes. I also don't know much about how this engine is put together. I think, unless I'm wrong, that's your main shaft to the engine. So really, this is basically, essentially, except for obviously the way it bolts, because it's, what do they call it, horizontal shaft. Then this is basically like a lawnmower engine that's tipped straight up instead of laying down on the side. So everything should be generally set up the same, because that's obviously your main shaft there, I would say. And that drives your belt. That belt and everything drives your tines. So it should be all the same. I should be able to pull this front cover off. You guys aren't in view again. Pull this front cover off, get down underneath there, take the flywheel off, get underneath there, and I should be able to find points, condenser, all that jazz, which is going to be probably a pain. So that's that, you know. I'll check into it. We'll see what happens. Hopefully everything goes good. Like I say, there's a good chance I have a condenser for this engine on hand. So if it's a condenser, I feel pretty confident we can get it going. I had no problem once I got the parts for it fixing that MTD to have spark. We haven't got it running yet, that MTD push mower. But we got it to have spark, no problems. So I feel pretty confident I can handle that on here. It's hard to know, not knowing what this engine is, what I should set the points and things to. As far as looking that up, I don't really know, because all the tags and stickers are gone off this engine. I have no clue what kind of engine this is. None. One would assume it was a Briggs, but it might not be. The fact that it's white would kind of, and based on the time period and having a big white engine, it's a good chance it's a Briggs, but that doesn't mean it is. So I'll try to do a little bit of research. Maybe I can find another one like this online and figure out what it has for an engine in it. So we'll come back at you guys. I'm sorry this is kind of a boring video because things didn't go quite like we had thought they would. That's okay. We will get back after it. You guys know that. And I'll keep you posted. So thanks for watching. Be watching for another video on this. I absolutely will have to get this running this year because Mom wants it for the garden. So there's going to be no procrastinating on this guy. So whether it's this engine or the other engine that I need to get running, which I believe is an Aaron's engine, one way or another I'll have to get some sort of an engine hooked up on this guy and get it going. So thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, stay tuned for more. Don't be afraid to tackle your projects. This is Codger, signing off.